Welcome to our straight and simple Gemara Shir. Maseches Shabbos, Daf Kuf Mem Hey Amud Aleph in the middle of the page. The halachos of schita, squeezing fruit on Shabbos. Two very, very important details we're going to learn today about the halachos of squeezing on Shabbos. We already said Ilun Nishmas dedications before, so let's go. It's getting late. Amar Abizera, Amar Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Rav. Remember, this is Rav talking. And what does Rav say? Soichet odom eshkol shalanovim letocha kedero. A person may squeeze a cluster of grapes, eshkol shalanovim letocha kedero, avalo letocha keoro. There's a disagreement in the poskim what that means, but generally speaking, when you talk Gemara Rashi, the permission, what Rav is allowing us to do here is take a cluster of grapes and squeeze the grape juice straight into a kedera. Kedera is a pot of food that's about to be cooked or cooked after Shabbos. But the way Rashi learns it, kedera means something full of food. So because the anovim, the grapes, are being squeezed straight into food, as we explained yesterday, and we learned yesterday quite extensively, food into food is not called dash, is not called schita, right? In other words, as the Rishonim explain, yeah, it's like you're cutting bread. It's like uchla difrat. You had food, and now the grape juice is straight away being tofel, joining another form of solids. It's becoming, it trickles straight into something solid. So solid into solid is not considered to be stoichet. Avalol letocha keoro, but do not squeeze it into the keoro. Don't squeeze it into an empty bowl, empty plate, because then you have it straight. It's just a juice, just liquid juice by itself. That's not allowed. Even if this keora will right away be transferred into food, that's too late. Once you squeeze from the solid into the liquids, that's an isser of itself. Beseder, that's clear, and that's Rav's kula. Who else said the same kula before? Shmuel. Now comes Rav with a new piece of information. The dag letziroi afilo latocha keoro, which means if you want to squeeze fish from its brine, from the sauce that's in the fish, yeah, you're squeezing the fish, yeah, that you're allowed to do even into the keoro. Yeah, let's say you cooked fish. It sounds like it's something you cooked later on. You cook the fish and you want to get the brine or the cooked juice of the fish into a keoro and use it by itself, drink it or mix it with another food, then that is allowed. Why? Dag letziro is not called bichlal. Yeah, it's not called mashke. Rashi schitas dag lo tzitzir alav mashke elo oichlin, which means something that's inside the fish and was cooked in the fish is considered as food right from the beginning. It never had the name of liquid. That's the way it's defined here. Now we're going to see the big, okay, Yosef Ravdimi. Ravdimi, yeah, was sitting down. V'ka'omar lo la'ashmaitza. Ravdimi mentioned this shmaitza, that sugya, what we just learned now. Ravdimi said it. Okay, Ravdimi taught it. Okay? Okay, and then what happened? V'ka'omar lo shmaitza. Yeah, he mentioned that Shmua. Please, video. 1 second. Turn off the video, please. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Yosef Ravdimi v'komal lash maitza. Ravdimi was sitting and said that Shmua, that sugya. Abai told Ravdimi as follows: Atun, you people, mishmei derav matnitun. You learn that statement on behalf of Rav. You quote Rav as saying what? The second statement of Rav that said that fish that's cooked and now the water of the fish, the brine or whatever, the sauce of the fish, you squeeze that and that's allowed whatsoever, it's always allowed, it doesn't apply, and soon we're going to explain why. Schita does not apply to it. You learn it as Rav's statement, that's why it does not pose a problem for you. Soon you're going to know what is the problem. If Rav said that statement about the fish, that's not a problem. However, Anan, us, come in. Anan, us, me, Abaye, me and my friends, Bishmed Shmuel matninan la. We'll learn it on behalf of Shmuel v'kashalan. In other words, we have a problem with the fact that we have that Shmua in our Besmedrash, in our Masorah, we learned the very same statement. You're allowed to squeeze the fish for its juice, yeah, and that is okay. We said it on behalf of Shmuel. That Shmuel is the Baal Memra, the Kashalan, and therefore for us it poses a problem. Why is it a problem? The problem is Mi Omer Shmuel Dag Letziro Yafil Tocha Ke'ora. Is that so? Is it possible that Shmuel would allow you to take cooked fish and squeeze it just by itself into an empty bowl? Does it say that squeezing and schita does not apply to fish? Is that so? Now we're coming to the big memra. Oh, you can look at the charts already if you want. Now we're going to look at. Can you give one to Reb David, please? Thank you very much. Thank you. Vaitma, here, our viewers at home can look at it now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're going to discuss it soon. Now comes the Memra. Vaitma. Says the Memra as follows. Very good. Vaitma. Kvoshim shesochton. Kvoshim. What are kvoshim? Pickled vegetables. Or pickled, the Shulchan Aruch says, pickled fruit or vegetables. Okay? Pickled, I don't know, tomatoes, pickled, cucumbers. And you soichet, you squeezed out the brine, yeah, the salty water on Shabbos. Is that allowed? Amoraim says Rav depends. Legufan mutal, lemimen poto avalosu. Yeah, one second. Chaval, I had a better chart. I don't know where this one is. Yeah, says Rav like this. You do it for the gufan, that's allowed, right? Okay. Meimen poto avalosu, right? If you do it for the water, then let me explain. If you squeeze the water out of the pickled cucumber, because you want the cucumber itself to be drier, you will get rid of the water. You will get it's too watery, too salty, too something for you. You're basically ridding the pickled cucumber. Yeah, sometimes they're too full of, the brine, the juice. You want to squeeze it out to get rid of the juice. That's allowed lechatchila. And as you can see the chart, everyone allows it. That's allowed by everybody. It's allowed lekula alma if you do it for the legufan. Why is that allowed legufan mutal? You know why? Says Rashi, and that's a big chiddush, one of the big yesodis in these malachas. Rashi says, "Deloi mefarikhu ho'il v'lam lemashku tzorich." Since you don't need the drink, you don't need the juice, you don't need the liquid, it's considered as if you're not squeezing at all. What does it mean? Normally, such an act would be considered as what? Classical. Classic melacha shetzeicha lagufa. I'm trying to get rid of the problem. I'm not gaining the juice. I'm getting rid of the juice, right? That is like, I don't want the one famous Mishnah, Tzadi Gimel, Amud Beis, when a person, lo aleinu chas v'shalom, is a dead person in the house, is taking it out closer to the cemetery, I'm not happy that the mace is out. I'm trying to get rid of the mace. It shouldn't be in my house. Yeah?
So you shouldn't be designed for this.
No, my house should not be tummy. That's another thing with zonomis. I trap a disgusting, horrible cockroach. I'm not saying it's allowed, yeah? Answer chalagufa. I'm not interested in the cockroach being here. I'm not interested in him being anywhere, right? That's an answer chalagufa, right? If I want him, my wife for sure not, yeah? So now what? Now what comes? What's the story here? It's difficult, right? You're telling me that you're allowed lechatchila to take the kvoshim, squeeze them, if all you want is just get rid of the juice. Why is the machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rab Shimon? Says Tosfos in Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Beis, when he talks about picking fruit, not fruit, picking branches. If you pick branches because you want to get rid of the branches, it's not Enser Gufa. It doesn't begin to be Meleches Koitzer. Why? Meleches Koitzer, by definition, before we even start talking about Enser Gufa, the actual definition of Koitzer is not cutting fruit like they taught us in Cheder. It means gaining fruit. Getting fruit or getting branches from the tree. But if it didn't gain the fruit, it doesn't even begin to be Koitzer. Same thing over here. When it comes to Dash, Dash means retrieving, achieving, getting, gaining something from its place of origin. From not gaining, it does begin to be dash. You can ask why. Why is it so dafka here, not in Adam Malacha, so here, in the Chinami? But that's the Agdor of the Rishonim. I was very happy to see this now. It fits very well into Tosis in Daf and Gimel Amud Beis, which we learned in Yeshiva not so long ago. It's all very good. And that, by the way, we're going to see three opinions afterwards, the Rav, Shmuel, and Rabbi Yochanan. One thing everyone agrees consistently through and through. You see it in the chart. Everyone agrees that you're allowed to squeeze any kind of juice that did not grow inside the fruit, either kvoshim or shlokos, either pickles or cooked food, because all you're doing is just getting rid of the juice. That's allowed. Now, so let's repeat. Let's revise and revive the brisa. Let's start again. Yeah, itma kvoshim shestochton, pickled things, pickled vegetables. You squeeze them. Omarav legufan mutar. If you squeeze them for their body, meaning for the actual vegetable, I want it to be nicer. I'm getting rid of the juice. That's allowed. It's better than Etzer Chalagufa. Lemimein poto oval also. Oh, why is lemimein poto oval also? Let's say I do want the water. I like the brine of the cucumbers. Yeah, let's say somebody likes it. He's squeezing it. Geschmack. He wants to get the juice out of the cucumber and drink the brine. That's potter of a losser. Why? Why is it potter of a losser? To be chayev, there are two reasons. I'm shtickle combining different rishonim here. First of all, it's not zeisim vanovim, which is not the oraisa. It's not wine or oil. Secondly, and mainly, and that's the name of the game here, last time I checked, those things, this water didn't grow inside it doesn't come really from inside of the cucumber. It went through it. Yeah, but it's all around it, right? It's not the natural juice. No, it's not. It's the juice you added. Yeah, and you squeezing the juice that's a little bit inside of it, but started from the outside. That's against the whole mahus of dash. Dash is, according to Rav and Shmuel, only something that naturally grew inside. But if this is something that's all over, all around, a little bit inside, but did not start inside the vegetable, it's definitely not chayiv. However, it's potter of al. Why is it potter of al-osur? Because at the end of the day, it is a mashke. And the mashke is now seemingly coming out of the vegetable, even though it didn't grow there, but it's coming out of there. And it's similar to Isur Doraisa. When something is similar to Isur Doraisa, it's also Rabbanon. That's simple. Now, v'shlokos. Now, what about shlokos? Let's say, according to Rav, now you have something that cooked. You have cooked vegetables, cooked zucchini, cooked, I don't know, potatoes, cooked something, and you are now you have water that has the tam. Yeah, it's soup, vegetable soup. Vegetable soup, you're taking the soup of the vegetable and you're squeezing those cooked vegetables and you're getting the water out of the cooked vegetables, the water that was cooking in them. Yeah? Ben legufan, ben lemimen mutar. Wow. Says Rav, you can follow the chart if you want. Both are allowed. What's the difference? Why is it over here? It's more of a kula, and we're telling, all of a sudden Rav is telling us that shlokos are allowed both cases. I'll tell you why. Because shlokos, what's inside the shlokos is not at all called mashke, it's called oichel. The question is why? The Sfas says that even though normally we say kovush kemevushal, in other words, normally something cooked, the water that's inside the cooked item has the same halacha, same status as the food itself. If somebody cooks chazer in what? In water, chazer soup, then all the soup is also, right? Because the water is considered to be like the chazer. Because cooking makes a stronger connection of the tam, of the molecules. It's something scientific. Yeah, there's a shtickle of the tam, kosher, non-kosher, in the water. There's some real reality of the solid. Therefore, those liquids, the cooked in the solids, have a din of solid, even for Shabbos. Interesting. What about kovush? Even though we say behilchas kashrus and certain things in Shabbos kovush kemevushal, yeah, if you pickled chazer in water, you can't use the water either. But there says that Sfas Emes is only regarding nesina stam. but it's not as severe. It's only the Rabbanut Kovish Kamushal, as far as I remember. It's not Mamish Bishul. I think so. I'm pretty sure. Kovish Kamushal means it's not something I have to find out. That's my vague memory. I may be wrong. But the Maisa Kovish Kimavushal, Kovish is not Mamish like Mavushal. It's almost like. So Kovush, the liquid and the solids are not Mamish one and the same. The liquid are liquids, and the solid is solid. Elamai, linyan tam, it has a flavor. For kashrus, you're not dealing with kashrus. We're dealing with the status of the thing. The status of the liquids of the kavush is what is not mamish of the vegetables. So let's look again in the chart. So what does Rav believe? Rav says kvoshim for gufan. It's always now for gufan. Both kvoshim and shlokus is allowed, right? For the water, for the liquid. Then what do we say? By kvoshim potter velosor. Kvoshim is one level more chomor, and shlokos is completely allowed because it's considered to be mamish solid. Yeah, it's kilu you cut a piece of it. Okay. The bishul also, I think I saw in the booklet of the dirush or something. Kilu the cooking makes it more. Kilu the like the soup is becoming something more solid. It makes it kilu be part of the vegetable. So then it is considered more as vegetable itself. It's allowed. It's mutter. Yeah.
Is that like really the concept of like a davar lach versus like a solid versus liquid, or similar concept, like is ketchup a solid or liquid, or no, it's not really liquid.
That's more to get to bishul, not too much to here.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Shmuel Omar. That's all. Opinion number 2, Shmuel Omar. Echad kvoshim echad shlokois. He does not differentiate. Leguf and mutar. Lememen potov alosu. Shmuel doesn't believe in that difference between kvoshim and shlokos. He says no. Legufan, whichever kind of vegetable, cured or cooked or whatever, or smoked, it's what? Legufan mutar. That's always consistent. You do it for the vegetable, you're just getting rid of the juice, no problem. Because that's not called schita. It's called getting rid of the juice. I'm not obtaining the juice. Both of them, both shlokois and kvoshim, he does not believe in that interesting svar of Rav. He says, no. At the end of the day, when you have either cooked or cured, whatever, or pickled, when you're talking about the juice that comes out and you're interested in the juice, Rabbanon aser both. Bad news. Bad news. Why? If Shmuel is the one who said a fish, what did we say? Fish, and you squeeze the fish, what for? For the water. Let's say somebody likes the brine of the fish or the cooked water in the cooked fish. Squeezes the fish, Gishmak, fish water. Amazing. Fish water, he loves it. What did we say before? That that's allowed? No way. Shmuel here says that any kind of schita of kovush or mevushal, if it's for the juice, it's not allowed. Bad news. So therefore, Abai says, you guys are learning this b'shem Rav is good. Rav allowed. Rav allowed, right? Rav allowed it in case of the cooked one. So cooked fish is okay. But Shmuel always never allowed it, kovush or mevushal. So it's a problem if you say that Shmuel is the master of the brisa. Omerle, so he basically asserted what Abai is saying, and he says, yes, I know I'm right. You're telling me I'm right? I am right. Yes, I am. I like him. He swears b'Shem Hashem. Wow. Ein lo v'lo zal. He quotes a pasuk, my own eyes saw it and nobody else. In other words, I know it for sure with utmost certainty. Mipumid Birmia Shmiali. I heard it from Birmia. That's what Rav Dimi says, right? And Merav Zera, the Rabbi Yirmiyah heard it from Merav Zera, Merav Chia Bar Ashi, Merav Chia Bar Ashi Mirav. Look at our beautiful Messiah. He knew exactly which Amoraim said it, B'Shem which Amoraim. He studied it very, very well. And he knows that the origin of this Shmua, of allowing to secht, instead of shech, to say secht, to allow to squeeze the fish, I assume the cooked one, because the cooked one, according to Rav, is not even called mashke, right? That's allowed according to Rav, and that's very well. If you learn it b'Shem Shmuel, you're wrong. You're wrong historically, and you're wrong logically. Now we're going to learn the same brisa in a more developed, detailed way. Can I have the bottle of water, please? I'm sorry to trouble you. Thank you. I'm drinking water. Thank you. I'm not squeezing it from anywhere, but thank you. Take some. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. You can ask a question.
Rav is in more, right?
Both Rav Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan are Amoraim.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
was okay. That's what I was asking a question. Okay.
Both All three, Rav Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, were from the same generation.
Okay.
Rabbi Yochanan stayed in Eretz Yisrael, and Rav and Shmuel went to Bavel. Yeah. Gufa. Understanding confusion, because all three of them, some Rishonim hold, can argue in Tanoim. Rav for sure can argue in Tanoim. Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan is, according to some, they can. Gufa. Kvoshim shesochton. Kvoshim, the pickled ones, pickled vegetables that is squeezed from the brine. Amarav, legufan muta, lememen poto v'losu, for their own goof, in other words, just to get rid of the water that's allowed. It's against the essence of schita of dash. Memen poto v'losu, right? If you do it for the water of the kvoshim, why? Let's repeat. The water of the pickled are cold water. It is called liquid, yes, but it's not. It didn't grow inside of it. Not zesim vanovim. It's only also the rabbanon. The shlokas ben legufen ben lememen mutar. Shlokas, even if you want the actual juice, yeah, you have nice vegetable, cooked vegetables, you will get more of the gishmak of the water that's inside the vegetable, even if it's for the water and you are soichet, because water inside solid, cooked in the solid, is more arain and arain. It's part of the solid. It got the tchuna of the solid. It's not even called schita b'chlal, and it's allowed, right? Because it's solid. Shmuel Omar. So far, we're just doing chazor. It's very, very good. Shmuel Omar, opinion number 2. V'Shmuel Omar, yeah. What does Shmuel say? Echad zeh ve'echad zeh, both of them, yeah, meaning he does not differentiate between shlokois or kvoshim. Echad zeh ve'echad zeh, either one, legufan mutar, lememen pator v'loso. That's actually very easy. Why legufan mutar? If you do it to get rid of the juice, that's even more than melacha shetzich legufa. It's mutar. Why? I'm not trying to get any juice. I'm getting rid of the juice. Lememen pator v'loso. Why? Lememen pator v'loso makes a lot of sense. More or less like Rav, except that he doesn't differentiate between kvoshim and shlokos. Why is it pator v'loso? A, it's not zesim vanovim. B, it didn't grow inside the vegetable. It got there artificially by the cook, by the chef, right? That's not schita doraisa. However, because Shmuel both views both as liquid, it's similar to get liquid out of solid. You are getting liquid out of solid that looks scarily similar to dash doraisa. That's also the rabbanon. Like 500,000 there's the rabbanon. Right? It looks similar to the raisa. It's also the rabbanon. That's about 5 million times we see that concept. Here comes big news. We didn't see him before. Mar Eretz Yisrael, the main Amor of Eretz Yisrael, he's in the door. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Echad Kvoshim, Echad Shlokois. Again, Leguf and Muta. Wow, this is so consistent, unbelievable. Everyone says if you squeeze it for the what? For the good of the vegetable to get rid of the water, no problem, allowed. It's against the whole essence of schita. Lemeimein chayv chatos. Did you hear that? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I'm glad you're not fainting, yeah? Lemeimein chayv chatos. Did you hear that? Rabbi Yochanan is going over all the obstacles. Rabbi Yochanan believes that even though it's not Zeisim Vanovim, apparently Rabbi Yochanan believes, so it's, I don't know, it was mashma like this one, the Rashba, I didn't see it inside, maybe well enough, but it's mashma from the Rishonim that he holds what? That not only Zeisim Vanovim, but anything that you machshiv is chayav chatas. All the vegetables, all the. Secondly, it didn't grow inside. It still holds chayav chatas. Rabbi Yochanan, if that's what he's saying, not me, don't look at me, look at him. In other words, he's saying any kind of schita in the world of food, even if something grew inside, even if something was inserted artificially into the other one, chayav chatas. There is a big question, by the way. This is I'm kind of summarizing Tosfos here. There's a very famous Gemara which we saw in Daf Kuf Yud Aleph. It's a famous Gemara in Ksubas Daf Vav. It's Sucharid and Yasser. What about it? Yeah, I'm sure you remember it. If you have the little bit of cloth that's squeezed into the barrel, to the mouth of the barrel, to the spigot, to the faucet of the barrel, and you squeeze it further, yeah, to tighten you tighten the shmata into the barrel of wine. So that's all big problem. It's chiyuv, it's psikresha, all the raid, or Belchonon Wasserman, the whole explanation of psikresha is about that. Let me ask you a question. Why? Why am I not allowed to squeeze wine out of the cloth? There's a lot written about it. Tosfos over here is saying, wait, why isn't it allowed? According to Rabbi Shmuel, that should be fine. Why? Or at least only also the Rabbanon. Because that wine did not grow inside the cloth, right? It's there now. So Tessus wants to say, it's only according to Rabbi Yochanan. It's dash, and it's according to Rabbi Yochanan. According to Yochanan, it doesn't have to be zucchini or tantukini. It can even be something, an inanimate object, such as a cloth, and you chayv on dash. That's Tosfos holds like that. Other Rishonim, or some other Rishonim say, enechnami, the chiyuv is called melabin. Not of dash. Squeezing, it belongs to two of us, malacha. Either squeezing in organic things, which we're learning about now, or squeezing out in order to clean. Either you're cleaning the wine out of the cloth, kind of, you're wringing, kind of. That's otos matad melaben. It's just interesting to compare the sugyas. In any event, so that's Rabbi Yochanan, very hard liner. Oh, here there's machlokes rishonim. Now I'll get to the end of the. What should I do? Test this now. No, let me get to the end of the page because I get frustrated or don't finish the page as much as I'm not trying to pressurize. Let me get to the end of the page. I promise you, Blaine, that we'll have some malacha now. Yeah, or opinions of Rishonim. But let's first get to the end of the page. Meisivi. Now we're asking a question. It's a very easy question to understand, a very easy answer. Meisivi. One brisa is going to now be a challenge for all three opinions. Meisivi. Soichtin kvoshim b'Shabbos l'tzorcha Shabbos. One is allowed to squeeze pickled vegetables, pickled fruit, for the tzorch, for the need of Shabbos. Aval on the Motzei Shabbos, you can't prepare for Motzei Shabbos. You're allowed to squeeze the kvoshim on Shabbos. That's allowed, no problem. V'sesim v'anovim lo yischot. Zeisim v'anovim, don't squeeze them. V'imsachat chayv chatos, that's not such big news. Zeisim v'anovim are always the bad kids, and if you soichet them, you chayv chatos. The problem is that you're telling me here soichtin is allowed, even when doesn't differentiate between soichet for the liquid or for the solid. So you're telling me now that if I'm soichet even for the liquids, that's allowed. Nobody allowed that. Check the chart if you don't believe me. Well, also wrote the chart, so I don't know. Yeah. So now, yeah, look. What did we say? Yeah, did anybody allow from a mayhem? No. What did Rav say about Memen? Potter of Velosur. Shmuel, Potter of Velosur. Rabbi Yochanan Chayev. Nobody said it's allowed. And yet the Brisa says that it is allowed. What's going on here? Yeah? Question. And the Gemara answers, Rav metatz l'taimei, Shmuel metatz l'taimei, Rabbi Yochanan metatz l'taimei. Each one of the Heilige Chosheve Amoraim, each one explains the Brisa, kind of reads the Brisa in a way that works out, according to his opinion, very readable answers. Answer number one, Rav. Rav metarz l'taimei. What does Rav say? Let me reread the Brisa for you, says Rav, the way I understand the Brisa. Let's read the Brisa with the flair of Rav. Soichtin kvoshim b'Shabbos l'tzorcha Shabbos. Listen to this. Kvoshim. Aha. When are you allowed to be soichet the pickled vegetables for the need of Shabbos? When is that true? Lagufan enochinami. The Brisa meant lagufan, meaning gufan. Everyone allows gufan. Gufan means what? I need a drier, harder pickle or whatever, and all I need is the water to run down and goes down the drain. I don't like that briny, thick water. Yeah, that's a gufan. That's allowed, right? Because that's not schita. Everyone agrees to that. If you do it for the water because you want to drink the salty water, that the Brisa did not talk about. The Brisa itself would tell you that it's potter of also, it's also the Rabbanon. Why is it also the Rabbanon? Because that is schita. Because I do want it. I want the water. I like the brine of the pickles, yeah? And I want it. It's not the Raisa for many reasons, but it's similar to the Raisa. Boom, the Rabbanon. What about the cooked ones? Shlokas are always allowed. Why? Because the water inside the cooked vegetables is called solid. Even if it looks runny, but it's not as runny. Yeah, it is really something we're talking. Okay, I don't want to say I have something to add, but doesn't matter for now. That's the bottom line. Lo yischot v'imsachton chayv chatos. That's again one point that's not disputable. Zeisim v'anovim are always for squeezing, halachically, technically, culturally. Zeisim v'anovim are all about schita, and if you soichet them, chayv de'oraisa chayv chatos lo aleinu. That was Rav. Now, Shmuel Matarat, Ma'im Rabbeinu. Right? Water, anybody, please? Yeah. Shmuel Metatz L'Taime, first white line. Shmuel Metatz L'Taime. What does Shmuel say? Soichtin Kvoshim Shabbos L'Tzorcha Shabbos. What in the Shlokos? Shmuel did not differentiate between what and what? Kvoshim and Shlokos. He did not differentiate between the pickled and the cooked. He doesn't believe in that concept that this is called solid, liquid. No, they're all called liquids. It's a soup. It's a vegetable soup. It's soup. It's liquid. That's it. And therefore, you're not allowed to do that. I want to say soichtin. Soichtin, yeah. But medvom legufan. Of course, you're allowed to squeeze out the water, the juice, whatever you want to call it, if all you need is to get rid of the water. If you do it for the liquid, also the rabbanon. It's not zeisim, not a novim. It didn't grow inside. It's not real schita, but it looks like it and it smells like it and it feels like it. So it's also the rabbanon. Zeisim anovim lo yischot v'msochet chavchatos. Zeisim anovim chavchatos as always. Rabbi Yochanan etatz l'taimei. Rabbi Yochanan answers also according to his own reasoning. Stoichtin kvoshim letzorcha Shabbos. Aval lo lemotzei Shabbos. Okay, good. Echad kvoshim, echad shlokos. When is that allowed? They all give more or less the same answer. We realize that the core of the answer is always the same. What is it? Right? When did the Brisa allow you? They're basically all mitzamtzen. They're all limiting and qualifying the Brisa to allow lechatchila only legufan. Well, the other thing is lechatchila, according to Rav, is a shlokois. But everyone agrees that if you do it for the actual vegetable to get rid of the water, it's okay. Aval memen lo yischot. If you squeeze the water, you extract the water from the whatever that is, shlokois, without anything. Lememen lo yischot v'imsochat. And if you did, oh, here's Rabbi Yochanan's big moment. Nasa k'misha sochat zeisim anovim chayav chatos. According to Rabbi Yochanan, actually, the brisa works very nicely. According to Rabbi Yochanan, both Reisha and Sefer are connected. Because Rabbi Yochanan is the only one who believes that when you sect the cooked zucchini, right, or the pickled zucchini, and you sechted it, you extracted the water, chayav chatos, just like zeisim anovim. Wow, yeah, it's as bad as zeisim anovim. He doesn't think that zeisim anovim derives more than other things, and even though the brine or the vegetable soup obviously didn't grow inside the vegetable, he doesn't care. Rabbi Yochanan, very big hardliner regarding that. I'll say one more line and then we'll go into the Rishonim a little bit, and I'd like to do some Mishnah Berurah. Amar B'chia Barashi Amar Rav. Now we're back to Rav. Now Rav obviously is the other extreme from Rabbi Yochanan. He was most lenient. Listen to what Rav has to say. Dvar Toiro, Midoraisa. Midoraisa, what's the only chiyuv of schita? Enochaim el adrisa zeisem anovim bilvad. Midoraisa, the only issa doraisa to do schita zeisim anovim, right? Drisa is like to press the wine press, the oil press, even if you do it with your hands, as long as it's called normal, whatever it's called derech, you chayv on zeisim anovim, and therefore what? And therefore, when you have other types of liquids that are similar, it's only the providing the liquids. Yeah. In the yeshiva of Beit Menashe, they said, I'm not continuing now to the other topic of that. Oh, now comes the big question. The Rishonim here, much more than dealing with the Svaras, they deal a lot over here in trying to manage through this jungle of who do we hold by. So let's be traditional. And instead of looking at all the other Rishonim, which I don't always do, is now, I mean, I usually look at the other Rishonim. Yeah, Litzo, you know me by now. Now let's look at Tosfos. Now, before we continue, there's a big question here in the Rishonim, which we'll see in Tosfos. Rabbi Yochanan was very hard liner regarding what? That if you squeeze any kind of juice, right? From any kind of fruit or vegetable, even juice that didn't grow in it, chayav chatzos. Okay, fine. Now, but there was another issue that we kind of forgot. How did we get to this whole brisa? Well, it's a very important brisa of itself. How did we get there? What was our entry? Remember, we spoke about being soichet letoicha ke'oro. In other words, we spoke about squeezing dag, but the one before that, one statement that was right next to it, together with it, was the concept of soichet zeisim va'anovim eshkel shel anovim letocha Kedero, Kioro is also. In other words, one of the leniencies of Rav is that you are allowed to squeeze the anovim into what? Into food, into your fruit salad, into your cake. I don't know. Okay, cake, yom tov, whatever. I don't know. Into your chicken. Yeah, you have cooked chicken. Let's have no issue of bishul. You like some sweetness with the chicken, something with fish. I don't know. So then what? Rav said it's allowed, and Shmuel said it's allowed. Rabbi Yochanan remains strangely quiet. Rabbi Yochanan is a hardliner. So some people want to say that according to Rabbi Yochanan, that's not allowed. That kula that we always use. You know, many people, you know what they do nowadays. Mishnah says to do it, right? You take the lemon, squeeze it into the sugar, right? And then they put the sugar into the tea. Kli shlishi, hopefully, right? If you live in Eretz Yisrael long enough, you have to tea kli shlishi. Yeah, you hear what I'm saying? You can't have the tea, you can't have the lemon straight into the water. That's chita. Lemon into the sugar is allowed. Solid into solid. Solid to solid. Later, it goes into the water, into the tea, into the whatever. People do that. That's an eight of Shabur. So now, Rabbi Yochanan apparently, according to some Rishonim, is not happy with that. Rabbi Yochanan is lumping all the chumras together. And therefore, you should know, although I regret a little bit that I said it's for sure okay to do it, it's sure it's okay, it's allowed, but the Mishnah Berurah says that some Rishonim are not so happy with that. As we'll see, some Rishonim hold like Rabbi Yochanan, they hold Rabbi Yochanan was machmir, and therefore they tell you not to do it, not to squeeze straight into solid. The accepted halacha is that it's okay. But the Mishnah Berurah does mention the opinion that says not to do solid to solid. Why? Because they hold Rabbi Yochanan was against it, A, and they also hold Rabbi Yochanan is bigger than Rav and Shmuel. Two chidushim. Yeah, let's look at Tosfos. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Echad Kvoshim Echad Shtokas Legufan. It's the last Tosfos of the page. What did Rabbi Yochanan say? Big chumrah. What did he say? Echad Kvoshim Echad Shtokas Legufan Mutal Memen Chad Chatos. Oh, says Tosfos at the beginning. V'dag l'tziroi nam yav v'mechayev Rabbi Yochanan Chatos l'tocha ke'oro. Dag l'tziroi. Rabbi Yochanan would also be mechayev l'tocha ke'oro. Okay, that makes sense. In other words, just like Rabbi Yochanan tells you about voshem and shlokos, pickled fruit, pickled vegetables, pickled whatever, the dag, the fish with the brine, would be the same. That's not the big chiddush. Yeah, dag is Why? The dag l'tziroi, the mina l'shlokos, b'kulash might say the boch with the shmuel, the shlokos say the dag l'tziroi. Which means because we compared constantly, remember we got stuck with Shmuel, we said the Brisa can't work right with Shmuel. Very good. The Memra, because Shmuel said that Shmuel can't say that you can allow to squeeze the fish, because Shmuel said you're not allowed to squeeze the pickles. So fish and pickles are the same. Okay. So Rabbi Yochanan would forbid you to squeeze the fish. So far, so good. That's more pashut. Now comes the big story which I started telling you about. What's halacha? Upirashrach, Rabbeinu Chananel says, the halacha Rabbi Yochanan, news item number 1, the kaimel and kavos legaber Rav Shmuel. You hear that? He holds that when Rabbi Yochanan argues against Rav Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan is the winner. Wow, wow, wow. In other words, Rav Shmuel, 2 Amoraim, 2 against 1, 1 wins. The minority rules. He believes Rabbi Yochanan was so choshuv, and Rabbi Yochanan against Rav Shmuel, he takes the cards. Okay, so halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan. That's bad news. Why? Because if you follow Rabbi Yochanan, then all the schita that we have, papaya, mango, all the fruit that people sometimes squeeze today, it also the rice according to Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, so if you follow Rabbi Yochanan, that's not good. Any schita people do would be the rice. The Shamina Misa the Rabbi Yochanan. Now comes another chumrah. Here comes chumrah number 2. She also lischat kvoshim shlokas lamemeyan. Okay, that we know. Okay, so far so good. Fine, of course. If you say chayv chatos according to Rabbi Yochanan, v'lo hifrish b'schita. Here comes the big news. Lo hifrish b'schita ben kdera lekeoro. Wow. Ela kol osu. Whoa. He wants to say, since Rabbi Yochanan, he never said he did not differentiate between Kter and Keora. It was Rav's idea and Shmuel's idea, 2 different places. But Rabbi Yochanan never said that. Whoa. So what comes out? Mitoch el advar misbarer, shena lo chalok Shmuel v'lo kerav, she'om rusechat odom eshkol shalom l'toch ha'kdera. Wow. Get that? In other words, comes out that if we follow A, halacha like Rabbi Yochanan, B, Rabbi Yochanan held, never mentioned that business of squeezing solid to solid. It's a very nice and true idea. according to Rav Shmuel, not according to Rabbi Yochanan. And if he's the winner in the game, then we should not squeeze anything into solids. If your wife squeezes like a nice Beis Yaakov Yerushalayim person, which they all do, to squeeze the lemon straight into the lettuce salad, right? Don't mention Rabbi Yochanan to her, because Rabbi Yochanan will tell you she's over doraisa. Lemon is doraisa, everything's doraisa, and solid is solid. I don't believe in that, says Rabbi Yochanan. Comes out, yeah. If you follow that, we're in trouble. Okay, I'm not saying it's halacha. I'm saying these are rishonim. Yeah. Now I'm skipping a little bit about Yom Tov because it's the whole thing. Okay. Oh. Ag. Yeah. Umasha dikdek. If you don't mind, we're skipping now towards the end of Tosfos. A few lines from the bottom. The line starts with v'lo b'yom tov. I'm not interested in going to that now. Yeah, you have the words umasha dikdek v'deloi maflig. Now Tosfos himself is coming to argue on the Rach. Up until now, Tosfos quoted the machmir here was the Rach Rabbeinu Chananel. Yeah, the Rabbeinu Chananel ben Chushiel. Now, masha dikdek. Now he's coming to argue on that and be lenient. The fact that you're telling me that Rabbi Yochanan never differentiated between K'der and Ke'ora, he never differentiated between squeezing into solid and liquids, and therefore you want to say that Rabbi Yochanan forbids solid to solid, it's a diuk. I don't think that's the right way to infer things. It's not a diuk, it's not an inferment. Rav Shmuel also, they don't forbid kvoshim for the water, right? Right? In other words, they allow you to be soichet eshkol shalanovim into the kdera, right? But when they were talking in the chart, in the memra, in the three facet memra, they didn't mention it, which means just because you don't mention it doesn't mean you don't hold of it. Could be for Rabbi Yochanan was a pashut thing. Rav Shmuel themselves, when they started talking about all these different combinations, washim, slaka, blah, 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 they never mentioned that it's okay to squeeze solid to solid, because that's not the issue here. So could be Rabbi Yochanan, he's not talking b'chlal about the solid to solid. He only came to argue when it hurts him. When they said you're allowed to be soichet, or only also the rabbanon to soichet pickles, then he went up and said, here I disagree. Mapitom, you can't be soichet no pickles. But the fact he kept quiet before doesn't mean that he disagrees. Maybe it means that he does agree. You get what I'm saying? He didn't participate in the argument about solid to solid, not because he never agreed, because he didn't say anything. No, okay, no. Now comes another Rishon. Now other Rishonim. I've seen a few Rishonim, but I don't remember who says what. Pretty sure it's the Ran, and I've seen others. They say Mapitom. Last time I checked, Achirabim, Ratais. What did they tell you in class? Majority rules. No. They say, first of all, Rabbi Yochanan never argues on solid to solid. Secondly, regarding the whole structure here, other Rishonim say that majority rules. Rav Shmuel against Rabbi Yochanan, they win. And what's common to Rav Shmuel? That Zeisim Anovim is Doraisa, other things are not Doraisa. And also, what's common to Rav Shmuel, that they clearly believe, Rabbi Yochanan is not so clear, they clearly believe, one second please, they clearly, sorry, they clearly believe in what? That solid into solid is okay, right? That's a shita ben Rishonim. Yeah? We'll just look at, I'm sorry I didn't tell to bring Mishnah Berurah, just read a little bit of Mishnah Berurah in here from my own Mishnah Berurah, just to finish off nicely. Siman Shin Chof, Sif Zayin. Lischot kvoshim, to squeeze the pickled stuff, as the Ramos says, Peiros oirokois in the Chometz, the Shlokois. Shlokois is the cooked ones. So far, we're not differentiating. Pickled or cooked. Im legufam, right? What's legufam? She'ena tzorch l'mayim. You don't need the water. You don't need the brine or the soup. You're getting rid of it. Ve'ena soichtan ena letaknem la'achila. Right? You soichet them to make them better, the solids, getting rid of the liquids. Afilu soichet letoch ke'or she'en bo'ochel. Even if you squeeze it into a completely empty bowl, mutar. Right? That was one thing everyone agreed on. And Shulchan Aruch agrees as well. Mutar. Yeah? And if you do need the water, yeah, you're interested in the When he says water, it means the brine, the soup, the liquids. Mutter lischot letoch kedel shesh boichel. Ah, interesting. He doesn't just allow it, simply like, let's say, like, the truth is, nobody really allowed them anyways, except for Rav, right? Yeah. One of the Rishonim says, Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan are also ganging up against Rav in one thing, remember? Shlokos. Yes. The only one that allows Shlokos is Rav. Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan don't allow it. And therefore, we don't allow it stam azdoi. When is it allowed? The toch kedera shesh ba'oichel. Solid into solid is okay. Aval im en ba'oichel osu. If there's no food osu. Rabbeinu Chananen, hey, the rach, the machmir. Kol shu tzorch me'en chayv chatos. Wow. If you need the water, you have chatos. Afilu soch kedera shesh ba'oichel. The rach made its way to the Shulchan Aruch. I don't know if Shulchan Aruch holds that way, but he's mentioning the rach. And he says, both chumras, if you need the water, bad news, you squeezing it into food. I don't believe into food business. I'm Rabbi Yochanan follower. Okay? According to him, to be stoichet to eshkol grapes into solid food won't help. So the accepted meaning is yes to allow it, but remember, not everyone's so happy with it. Ask your local Orthodox rabbi what to do, and shalom bayis, other issues here. Yeah, v'seira atzlocho v'rocho. Thank you so much for coming to my house. What a pleasure, what a covet for me to have such choshuvah people here. Thank you to Torah Anytime, the most amazing site in the world. Thank you to everybody who works there. It helps me so much. Koich Godol, water, take water. We learned so much about mashkim.